हरे कृष्णा। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। हरे कृष्णा। So welcome back to this new course. Actually, this is not exactly a new course. This is third in the sequel, which we of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu only. We started out actually only the eastern section of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. We covered in the first course, we covered Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, in which we also covered the first wave, which spoke about Samanya Bhakti, the general concepts of Bhakti, the general nature of Bhakti, the definition of Bhakti, like that. And then we also covered the one half, or actually volume wise it is quite more than a half of the second wave, which spoke about Sadhana Bhakti, in which we spoke only about the Vaidhi Sadhana section. Then in the second course, demystifying Raganuga Bhakti, we discussed the second half of the second wave of the eastern section of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Now we are going to see the third and fourth waves, which talk about Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti, and that will bring us to the end of the eastern section of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Like that, there are three further sections which we will not be discussing. But you can understand to what our acharyas have done. This is just one of the books that Srila Rupa Goswami has compiled, and this is just one of the acharyas in our parampara. And we are just discussing less than 1/4 of that book that he has compiled. And what we are discussing, to be honest, is just the bhakti portion of it. But the purpose of Rupa Goswami compiling this book is to present bhakti rasa, and we will not be getting into that section at all. That is quite elevated topic. Even what we are going to discuss now in this course is quite elevated, because we are going to discuss about prayojan. So I am sure the first course was very much relatable, rediscovering Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, because it is about a practice that we are practicing. And in the second course, we went one notch up to discuss about Raganuga Sadhana, which is also Sadhana Bhakti only, Bhakti in practice, but a little elevated stage. Now we are coming to discuss we are going to discuss not Sadhana Bhakti, we are going to discuss Sadhya Bhakti, the perfection of the practice of Uttama Bhakti. So this is going to be little technical, it may be little bit unrelatable, but nevertheless I want to assure you that this is within the portion which is stipulated for Bhakti Shastri. We are not going to discuss something very esoteric. We are going to strictly stick to the writings and not go here and there, because the subject matter is elevated. So, but nevertheless, Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada have presented it in a very much relatable way. So as far as possible, I will try to present it in a way that you all can relate to. So if you all give me your prayers and blessings, then we could successfully complete this course also. This is the fourth online course that we are discussing. Apart from this 3 in this sequel, rediscovering Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, then demystifying Raganuga bhakti, and this is the third, the royal road ahead, bhava and prema bhakti. So this is the road ahead. This is what we are aspiring for through our practice of sadhana. So, and apart from this, we also did self-evaluation tools on the path of bhakti, which was based on Madhurya Kadambini. So, we will start our discussion about Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. As we saw, these are the 8th and 9th stages in the series, in the stages of Bhakti that Srila Rupa Goswami has presented. Adau Shraddha, first is Shraddha, basic faith in the practice of Bhakti, basic faith in the parampara, faith in the books, faith in the process of Bhakti, and faith in devotees. And then comes the nature of this Shraddha is one immediately realizes the need for association to practice this path. So then comes Sadhu Sangha. Then as soon as Sadhu Sangha comes, Bhajana Kriya starts, practice of the limbs of devotional service. Then Bhajana Kriya leads to Anartha Nivritti, destruction of the unfavorable desires which are present within our heart. Then after Anartha Nivritti comes Nishta. Once the obstacles within our heart are removed, then we reach the stage of steady practice of devotional service, Nishta. Then post Nishta, one may start the realm of Raganuga Bhakti. So Raganuga Bhakti is not a choice for everyone who is starting Bhakti. This we discussed elaborately before. So but after Nishta, one may continue to practice Vaidhi sadhana where the inspiration for practice is coming from scriptures, or one can take up to practice of Raganuga sadhana where the inspiration is coming from the lives of the Vrajavasis. So irrespective of whether one may take the stage of Vaidhi sadhana or Raganuga sadhana, one goes from Nishta to Ruchi, Ruchi to Asakti, and after Asakti comes Bhava. Then after Bhava comes Prema. So from Shraddha till Asakti is what comprises of sadhana bhakti, devotional service in practice. Then Bhava and Prema bhakti is devotional service in perfection. So till now we discussed devotional service in practice. From now on, in this course we will discuss devotional service in perfection, of which the first stage is Bhava and the next stage is Prema. Of course, there are 7 other stages also. Pranaya, Mana, Anuraga, Mahabhav, and so many such other stages are there. But we are not going to, that is not the subject matter of even Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. These stages are discussed much later in other books like Ujjvala Neelamani by Srila Rupa Goswami. So, as we saw that this is based on the book Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and Srila Jiva Goswami mentions, of course in our previous 2 courses also we studied this quote by Srila Jiva Goswami, who says that obsessed by a desire to benefit all the devotees of the Lord, the esteemed author Srila Rupa Goswami compiled this remarkable work, this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But why did he compile? And or what is the basis of this compilation? The basis of this compilation is using rasa, the subject matter of rasa which is presented primarily in Bhagavatam. And this has spontaneously arisen within the lotus bud of his heart. And he is presenting it to us because he feels deeply compassionate towards sincere sadhakas who are taking up to the path of bhakti. He wants to assist those sadhakas. So it's an act of compassion by Srila Rupa Goswami. So we will start by revisiting some old concepts. because it is always good, because that will give the right connection. Because suddenly we cannot start discussing Bhava Bhakti. We have to lay some foundation for that. So, the first definition that we discussed in the Rediscovering Vaidhisadhana Bhakti course was the definition of Uttama Bhakti. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttama. So, Srila Rupa Goswami gives a very perfect definition of what is pure devotional service or Uttama Bhakti. He says it has 4 components. Anyabhilashita shunyam. Anyabhilashita shunyam means the practitioner is practicing bhakti for accomplishing no other desire other than the pure desire to please Krishna and to establish a relationship with Krishna. He has no other desire. That is the meaning of Anyabhilashita shunyam. Second is Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Jnana Karmadi Anavritam means that practice is not covered. He is not mixing that practice with some karma, some jnana, some ashtanga yoga, like that. He is purely practicing Navada Bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So he thinks that the means of attaining perfection is through practice of this Navada Bhakti. So that is the meaning of Jnana Karma Dhyanavritam. And the third aspect is Anukulyena. Anukulyena means he has a very favorable, loving mood towards Krishna. And Krishna Anushilanam, that mood, favorable mood, is leading to some tangible service to Krishna. So, this is the definition of Uttama Bhakti or pure devotional service. Now, if you try to recollect, after discussing this, while discussing this definition of Uttama Bhakti, we also saw that this Krishna Anushilanam can be practiced at 2 levels. We discussed Cheshta Rupa Anushilanam and Bhava Rupa Anushilanam. First, what is Anushilanam? Anushilanam means service towards Krishna. And this service towards Krishna can be performed with spiritual emotions, and this service towards Krishna can be performed without spiritual emotions. So when it is performed with spiritual emotions, we saw it is called as Bhava Rupa Anushilanam. So Bhava Rupa Anushilanam means continuous actions using mind, body and words with spiritual emotions. So this refers to practice of bhakti on the level of bhava and prema. And Cheshta Rupa Anushilanam means where there is cheshta or actions using mind, body and words, but without spiritual emotions. So sadhana bhakti is Cheshta Rupa Anushilanam, whether it is Vaidhisadhana Bhakti or Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Both are Cheshta Rupa Anushilanam only, and in the first 2 courses we covered Cheshta Rupa Anushilanam. How is bhakti practiced by practitioners who have not yet awakened that spontaneous spiritual emotions within their heart. Now, in this course we are going to discuss how do the pros or the perfected devotees, how do they practice bhakti? What is inspiring them in practicing bhakti? That is called as Bhava Rupa Anushilanam. So, in this course we are going to discuss Bhava Rupa Anushilanam. Whereas the first 2 courses spoke about Cheshta Rupa Anushilanam and without spiritual emotions. But in the Vaidhisadhana Bhakti, the inspiration for Cheshta is coming from Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, and in the Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, the inspiration for Cheshta is coming from a spontaneous attraction towards the Vrajavasis' love for Krishna, and in Bhava and Prema Rupa Anushīlanam, Bhava and Prema Bhakti, the inspiration for Cheshta is going to come from spontaneous spiritual emotions towards Krishna. They have already established a relationship with Krishna. Whereas the Raganuga Sadhaka or a Vaidhi Sadhaka is aspiring to establish a relationship with Krishna. He has not established a relationship with Krishna. So, therefore, in this way we discussed Cheshta Rupa and Bhava Rupa Anushīlanam. Therefore, whether one is a Vaidhi Sadhaka or a Raganuga Sadhaka or a Bhava Bhakta or a Prema Bhakta, everyone is practicing Uttama Bhakti. Okay. And then we saw the definition of Sadhana Bhakti. I am going over this definition for a specific purpose. Sadhana Bhakti, whether it may be Vaidhi Sadhana or Raganuga Sadhana, is defined as Kriti Sadhya Bhavet Sadhya Bhavasa Sadhana Bida Nitya Siddhasya Bhavasya Prakatyam Hridi Sadhyata. Srila Rupa Goswami says that Sadhana Bhakti means engaging one's senses and mind in the activities of Krishna consciousness, in the activities of Bhakti, in Navada Bhakti. What is the goal? The goal is to attain Bhava. Kriti Sadhya Bhavet Sadhya Bhavasa Sadhana Vida. Sadhya means goal. Bhava means the stage of Bhava Bhakti. Kriti Sadhya means engagement of senses in Krishna conscious activity, in the limbs of Bhakti. When one engages his senses and mind in the limbs of Bhakti with a desire, with a goal of attaining the stage of Bhava, it is called as Sadhana Bhakti. So, the goal of Sadhana Bhakti is Bhava. Nitya Siddhasya Bhavasya Prakatyam Hridi Sadhyata. And this Bhava is an eternal state which is present within the heart of the living entities. And by practice of sadhana, this Bhava is not created, but practice of sadhana cleanses the heart, after which the natural Bhava or love that one has towards Krishna manifests. So now we will try to understand what is this Bhava Bhakti. So what we are reading now is a description from Madhurya Kadambini. We have already seen this section from when we were discussing the self-evaluation tools course. But nevertheless, because it is relevant for the subject matter that we are discussing, I will just briefly go over it. So what is this Bhava Bhakti? So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, when Asakti achieves full maturity, it is called Rati or Bhava. So, as we discussed before, the stage of Nishta is characterized by a strong sense of duty-bound nature. Kartavya Buddhi. So, Kartavya Buddhi is the prime impetus for steady practice of Bhakti at the stage of Nishta. And Kartavya Buddhi is a product of mode of goodness. Because at the stage of Nishta, Tadarajas tamo bhava kama lobhadayasche chetayete ranaviddam sthitam sattve prasidati. At the stage of Nishta, the influence of Rajogun and Tamogun is completely gone. Almost completely gone. And what is left is Sattvaguna. And the nature of Sattvaguna is strong duty-bound nature, Kartavya Buddhi. Kartavyam eveti manaha samadhaya sa sattvikaha. Yashtavyam eveti manaha. So this duty-bound nature, it is my duty, I have to perform this sacrifice. I have to perform this prescribed duty of mine. It is my duty, it is my duty. So this kind of duty-bound nature is symptomatic of Sattvaguna. The symptom of Rajoguna is, oh, I love it, I should do it. a strong sense of attachment, enjoying tendency. Ragi karmaphala prepsur. So there is a strong desire to enjoy the fruits of one's action. That is the nature of Rajogun. And in Tamogun there is no inspiration to work. So Sattvagun, in Sattvaguna the prominent inspiration is coming from a sense of duty that is born out of the mode of goodness. And at the stage of Nishtha, one has come to that stage. It is my duty. My spiritual master has told, Srila Prabhupada has told that morning program is absolutely important. So whatever it may be, even if that person is sleeping, even if the devotee at the stage of Nishtha is sleeping late, a strong duty-bound nature will pull him out of his bed and he will get ready and attend all the necessary activities of Krishna consciousness. So, but after Nishtha, as a reward for steadily practicing devotional service despite not having much taste, Krishna injects taste first in the activities. So suddenly the person feels very much joyous to perform the activities of chanting, hearing, associating with devotees, which till now he was not finding very tasteful. So Krishna injects that taste. So that stage is called as Ruchi. So Ruchi and Asakti are the stage of attraction. The first stage of attraction is called as Ruchi, where he gets attracted to the limbs of devotional service. Then that matures into Asakti, where the attraction shifts from the limbs of devotional service to Krishna himself. So at the stage of Asakti, the inspiration to steadily practice devotional service is coming from, oh, Krishna will be pleased by this, Krishna will be pleased by this. That is the constant inspiration. And at the stage of Ruchi, the impetus and the inspiration is coming from, oh, it is so enjoyable, chanting is so nice, dancing with devotees is so nice. That is the inspiration. And at the stage of Nishtha, the inspiration for steady practices, it is my duty. And at the stage of Anartha Nivritti or Anishtita Bhajana Kriya, there is no sufficient inspiration to steadily practice bhakti. That is why it is called as Anishtita Bhajana Kriya. That is, it is unsteady practice. So now, at the stage of Asakti, when there is a very strong impetus to perform the actions of devotional service for the pleasure of Krishna, when that achieves maturity, then the person enters into the spiritual realm. He enters into the realm of bhava. That's what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti is indicating here. When Asakti achieves full maturity, it is called as Rati or bhava. Bhava is a preliminary stage of manifestation of the Swarup Shakti of Krishna. So the Swarup Shakti of Krishna has three energies: Samvit, Sandhini and Hladini potencies. So the Sandhini potency is the existential potency. Existential potency means, so the representative of Sandhini potency is Balramji. And he helps manifest all the paraphernalia that is needed for Radha and Krishna to come and perform their pastimes. So the heart, which has been cleansed by constant practice of sadhana bhakti, that clean heart is Sandhini. So at the stage of Asakti, the heart becomes completely cleansed. Then at the stage of Bhava, Krishna manifests in the form of his Samvit Shakti and Radharani manifests in the form of Hladini Shakti. So Samvit Shakti is the knowledge potency. So the Samvit Shakti, when it manifests, it helps us know who we are. So realizing Krishna's position, and realizing our own position in relationship with Krishna. Who am I in Goloka Vrindavan? What is my name? What is my service? How do I serve? When do I serve? How do I address Krishna? How do I relate with Krishna? What is my rasa? So all these things is revealed by the Samvit potency of Krishna. Samvit potency of Krishna, of which the presiding deity is Krishna himself. But it is not sufficient just to know one's relationship. One should also experience the bliss of that relationship. So, like for example, I remember this was the time when I was just going to join the ashram. Many years back, maybe around 2007, when one of my very close cousin sisters was getting married. So I had to attend that marriage. So in that particular marriage, I was introduced to one of my uncles, whom I had never seen. So he was my mother's cousin brother. And my mother said, look, come, I will introduce you to one of your uncles, whom you have never seen. So she took me to my uncle and she introduced me. So we got to know each other. We understood that, oh, we are related to each other. He is my uncle and I am his nephew. So this establishing a relationship is the role of Samvit Shakti. But then, just knowing that relationship is not sufficient. One has to start acting in that relationship, then one starts experiencing the joy of that relationship. So, this uncle of mine was very curious about my career choice to join the ashram. My mother had already told him. He was very curious because he himself was a private detective, which is not a very commonly chosen path, offbeat career choice. So he was very inspired or maybe curious about my career choice. So he said, come, I just want to spend some time with you. I want to know you better. We don't have much time. So he took me and then we started talking. And then it became night, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and we are still talking. The next day is the actual marriage. The previous day was reception. Then 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and I was telling, are you not feeling sleepy? Actually, both of us were really relishing the discussion that we were having. The bond very quickly was becoming very stronger and stronger. And then, I don't know when we slept, maybe around 2 o'clock or whatever. And next day also, we were sitting and talking. We were really relishing each other's company. So, and by that, and I might have spent few more hours, but it was very meaningful association. So, this is the role of Hladini Shakti in relationship with Krishna. I am presenting it in a very mundane way, but nevertheless, as we discussed before, spiritual relationships and material relationships have a lot in common. Even though they are generally presented as being totally opposite, but they are not totally opposite at all. They have a lot in common, actually. That is why when Rupa Goswami is establishing, he is writing about spiritual rasa, the framework of presenting rasa, the theory of spiritual rasa, Srila Rupa Goswami has taken it from Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra. So Bharat Muni, after whom the word Bharatanatyam comes, he wrote elaborate Rasa Shastra based on material emotions. So he did not exactly elaborate on spiritual emotions, but he spoke about material emotions and how those emotions can be expressed through dance, through facial expressions, through mudras and abhinayas, how you can express rasa, a material relationship. It could be friendship, it could be servitude, it could be parental affection, it could be conjugal affection. How do you express it? So he elaborately wrote about this in his Natya Shastra. So interestingly, Rupa Goswami adapted that Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra and gave a spiritual rendition of the whole Rasa Shastra. He spiritualized the whole thing. So how could he do it if material emotions and spiritual emotions have nothing in common? Actually, they have a lot in common. So, therefore, but just that spiritual emotions, the difference is that spiritual emotions is on the platform of soul, the right ego, whereas material emotions are on the platform of body, either gross or subtle, and it is based on the conception of false ego. Otherwise, you will see there is lot of similarity in the expression of material emotions and spiritual emotions. So therefore, it is not completely inappropriate to give this example to explain this concept of what is this Samvit Shakti and Hladini Shakti. So Samvit Shakti is knowledge potency, like my mother introduced me to my uncle and my uncle to me. So this is in one sense getting to know each other. How are we related? But then the next many hours of time that we spent together forged a very strong relationship, and both of us were experiencing joy of that relationship. That is called as Hladini potency in the spiritual realm, not in the material realm. So at the stage of bhava, one actually comes in touch with Krishna's Swarupa Shakti, which expands in these three ways. His heart is completely cleansed of all material impressions, material desires, material dirt in the form of lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion and pride, which are the products of the three modes. So we saw that how at the stage of Nishtha, the devotee becomes cleansed of the lower modes of Rajas and Tamas, but at the stage of Bhava, he becomes completely cleansed of that material Sattva Guna also. So now the heart becomes the stage where Radharani and Krishna can manifest in the form of their Samvit potency and Hladini potency. So now the person becomes ready to experience spiritual emotions. In the material world, material emotions are triggered by the three modes. Bhagavad Gita discusses this in great detail. So, satisfaction comes from Sattva Guna, the emotion of satisfaction. Greed, lust, these emotions are born out of mode of passion. Anger, depression, dejection are born out of mode of ignorance. There are spiritual counterparts to all these emotions, but they are not products of three modes. They are not products of three modes. But there are similar counterparts in the spiritual realm. But they are products of the Swarup Shakti of the Lord, and they are not products of the Maya Shakti who operates through the three modes. So spiritual emotions may look similar to material emotions, but spiritual emotions are not products of three modes. You will see the gopis competing with each other. There is a struggle between the Radharani's party and Chandravali's party. But that competition is not born out of mode of passion. There is anger, there is cursing, but that is not born out of mode of ignorance. So So there are counterparts. So in the external form, that is why when we discussed Ragatmika Bhakti, we saw Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti, where in external form, that relationship between the gopis of Vrindavan and Krishna looks exactly like the relationship between a young man and a young woman. The rupa, the form looks similar, but the content is not kama, but the content is raga. A deep spontaneous desire to please the other person, not a deep spontaneous desire for sense gratification. Therefore, it is called as Kama Rupa Ragatmika Bhakti. Krishna Saukyartam eva Kevala Mudyama, where every endeavor is performed for the pleasure of Krishna and not for one's own sense gratification. This is what we saw, but in external form it looks the same. In intensity also, it may be similar. That is why Rupa Goswami prays, Yuvatinam yata yuno, yunam cha yuvatau yata, manobiramate tadvad, manome ramatam tvai, he says. He says that, my dear Lord, I want to love you. What is the nature of that love? And what is the intensity of that love? He says, I want to have that same intensity of love that a young woman has towards a young man, seeing whom she is completely infatuated. That intensity. So material emotions can also be quite intense. You see people dying out of anxiety, people dying out of dejection, people dying out of a feeling of separation. All this in the material world only. So similar things are seen in the spiritual world also. But it is not on the platform of false ego, but it is on the platform of true ego. But nevertheless, there is lot of similarity. So, bhava is the preliminary stage of manifestation of the three energies. So, the sat potency is indicated by the sandhini potency. Sat, sandhini. Chit, samvit. Ananda, the bliss potency is hladini potency, emanating from the Lord himself. So, at the stage of bhava bhakti, we are now going to experience emotions not because of the three modes, but because of Krishna's samvit, sandhini and hladini potency, spiritual emotions. But till we reach the stage of bhava, our emotions are triggered by the three modes only. Our bewilderment, our dejection is all triggered by tamogun. Similar bewilderment, dejection is there at the stage of bhava and prema also, but it is not triggered by tamogun at all. So that is why Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Vaishnavera kriya mudra vigyeha na bujai. One cannot understand the activities of people at the stage of bhava and prema, perfected devotees at the stage of bhava and prema. Because when we see them angry, we will naturally think, oh, tamogun. When we see them completely feeling the separation from Krishna, we will think rajogun, pure unalloyed rajogun, we will think. But it is not. We will see them competing with each other. Oh, rajogun. But this is not. These emotions are not product of the three modes. These emotions are product of the samvit, sandhini and hladini potency. Therefore, looking at the actions of a perfected devotee, we cannot judge them at all. Because Three modes are no longer a part of their system. Their subtle body has no trace of three modes. Their subtle body is filled with Krishna's Samvit, Sandhini and Hladini potency. So therefore, further Srila Vishnu Jagadakur says, it is called the blossoming flower on the creeper of bhakti. So prema is compared to the fruit and bhava is compared to the flower, and asakti is compared to the bud in this particular context. Of course, when context changes, the analogies also will change. So he says that and at the stage of bhava bhakti, apart from kleshagni and shubhada, kleshagni is complete destruction of all inauspicious qualities, and shubhada means manifestation of all wonderful qualities that is there, that started manifesting at the stage of sadhana bhakti, but it attains culmination at the stage of bhava and prema. And apart from these two qualities, at the stage of bhava, two more qualities manifest. We have already seen this in the rediscovering Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti section. The two other qualities which start manifesting at the stage of bhava are moksha lagutakrit. Moksha lagutakrit means the bliss experience, the spiritual bliss experience at the stage of bhava is so extraordinary that the bliss of liberation becomes insignificant. Moksha laghu. Moksha becomes laghu. Laghu means insignificant. Laguta krit. And sudurlabha. The stage of bhava is so rare to attain because Krishna does not very easily give anyone entrance into the realm of spiritual emotions, because Krishna will have to surrender to such a devotee. So he waits till one gets that stage of bhava. So these two qualities start manifesting at the stage of bhava. Moreover, by the profuse release of its fragrances, the flower of bhava is able to invite Madhusudan. So that he can appear there. So Krishna can appear. So one now at the stage of bhava, one exactly knows what is my relationship with Krishna, and one starts relating with Krishna on that level. In short, scented by those fragrances, all the emotions of the heart, like a cluster of sesame seeds, liquefy into a perfumed oil and become immediately fit to be smeared on the body of Krishna. So, this is a very poetic expression because we will discuss the nature of this bhava is nature of bhakti for that matter. It makes the heart very soft. Chitta masranya krid asau bhava uchyate, it is mentioned. So, this is the nature of bhakti, and at the stage of bhava, it is almost becoming liquid, the heart. So that, and it is perfumed with one of the 5 fragrances, just like we have sandalwood, mogra, rose, and then we may have other fragrances like jui or any other fragrance, gulchadi or whatever it may be. So these are all various fragrances. Similarly, the heart of that person becomes a perfumed oil which may be perfumed with one of the 5 rasas. It may have the perfume of Shantaras, it may have the perfume of Dasyaras or Sakyaras or Vatsalyaras or Madhuryaras. And with that fragrant, it is fit to be offered to the limbs of Krishna. So that heart can now be applied to the limbs of Krishna. He has established a relationship with Krishna. That's what is expressed here in a very poetic way. At the appearance of bhava, its receptacle, the body of even a Chandala or an outcast, becomes worthy of respect, which is due to Lord Brahma or the other devatas. Actually, it is an understatement. Lord Brahma is not always a pure devotee. The current Brahma is a Sampradaya Acharya, is a pure devotee. And not all the devatas are pure devotees. They are devotees, no doubt, but they are not pure devotees. But a Chandala or a outcast, his body, when he achieves the stage of bhava, it actually becomes much superior to the body of Brahma or Devatas. Because Brahma's body and Devata's body, they are still material. But this pure devotee's body has become transcendental now. And his heart is fit to be offered to Krishna, whereas the other Devata's heart is not fit to be offered to Krishna. So it is an understatement to tell that he deserves the same respect as the Brahma or the other Devatas. Actually, he deserves much more respect. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati says in that same verse, Kaivalyam narakayate, Tridashapur akasha pushpayate, Durdantendriya kala sarpa patali protkata damshtrayate, Vishwam purna sukayate, Vidhi mahendradischa kitayate. Yat karunya Kataksha Vaibhavatam Tam Gauramevastumah. It is mentioned. He says, when one gets the loving glance, the Karuna Kataksha, the compassionate glance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what happens? Kaivalyam narakayate. To get mukti or Sayujya mukti, to merge in the impersonal Brahmajyoti, which is aspired for by the greatest yogis and jnanis, narakayate. He feels it is naraka, it is hell. You would rather send me to hell than to Brahmajyoti, because at least in hell I can worship Krishna, but in Brahmajyoti there is no scope. Tridashapur akasha pushpayate. And Tridashapur means heaven. The pleasures of heaven for him are non-existent, like a flower in the sky. You know, a flower does not bloom on the sky. It's called as phantasmagoria, or in Hindi it is called as godadimba. Egg of a horse never lays egg, it's only in imagination. Durdantendriya kala sarpa patali protkata damshtrayate. And the senses of such a person, even though sometimes may move in the direction of sense gratification, but actually it is like fangs of a snake it is like a snake whose poisoned fangs have been removed. Does not trouble him. Vishwam purna sukayate. This jnani and yogi who are completely disgusted with this material world, they want to quit this material world. This devotee who has received the merciful glance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu starts finding this material world very enjoyable. Purna sukayate, it is filled only with joy. Vidhi mahendradischa kitayate. For him, Brahma, Indra, they are like insects to him. Kita. Why? Because he does not judge them based on their material qualification. He says, oh, Indra or Brahma, are they devotees? Are they Vaishnavas? Oh, then invite them. I want to associate with them. Otherwise, oh no, they are not pure devotees, but they are great demigods. So what? So his value system completely changes, what he values. Vidhi again, Vishwam purna sukayate, Vidhi mahendra dishta kitayate, yet karunya kataksha vaibhavatam tam gaurame vastumah. One who has received this merciful glance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is his vision. So he respects a Chandala's body if he has received this body of, if he has reached the stage of bhava. He respects that Chandala more than even he would respect Brahma or Indra or the other devatas. Because his vision is no longer material, his vision is spiritual. So, that is the stage of bhava. Now let us see the definition of bhava bhakti. This is an elaborate definition. I am not sure if we will get time to complete this definition. but we will try. So what is the definition of Bhava Bhakti? So as we saw, the definition of Bhava Bhakti includes the definition of Uttama Bhakti. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhyanavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttama. So all these four characteristics are there in Bhava Bhakti also. But additionally, that Anushilanam, that Krishnanushilanam is practiced on the level of Bhavarupa Anushilanam, where it is practiced once mind, words and body are engaged in Navada Bhakti with spiritual emotions. That is Bhava Bhakti. And of course Prema Bhakti also. So Srila Rupa Goswami defines Bhava Bhakti as Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prema Suryamshu Samya Bhak Ruchibis Chitta Masranya Krid Asau Bhava Uchyate. So we will see each one of these words in detail in order to understand clearly what the stage of Bhava is. He says, Asau Bhava Uchyate. That Bhakti is called as Bhava Bhakti. That Asau here refers to that Uttama Bhakti, which has these four characteristics, is called as Bhava Bhakti. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma. Atma means nature, whose nature is actually Shuddha Sattva Vishesha. We already saw the descriptions of Samvit, Sandhini and Ladini potency, whose very essence is Shuddha Sattva and Vishesha. Shuddha Sattva refers to the Samvit potency of the Lord, knowledge potency, and Vishesha refers to the Hladini potency of the Lord, where knowledge of one's relationship with Krishna matures into bliss. So Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma indicates that aspect of Uttama Bhakti in which emotions are generated out of the Samvit potency and Hladini potency. Prema Suryamshu Samya Bhak. This means if Prema is compared to a sun, Bhava is one ray of that sun. Qualitatively one, but quantitatively infinitesimal. So, if Prema is sun, Bhava is one ray of that sun. Then, if at the stage of Bhava, the bliss of liberation becomes insignificant, and if that Bhava is just one ray of the sun of Prema, then we can imagine what is the bliss that we will experience at the stage of Prema. We can't even imagine actually. So, Prema Suryamshu Samya Bhak. And Chitta Masranya Krid. What is the nature of this Bhava? Chitta is heart. Masranya Krid means it makes the heart very soft. How does it soften the heart? Ruchi Bihi. Ruchi Bihi means with the desires to meet, with the desires to serve, with the desires to exchange love with the Lord, basically expressions of affection. So even in the material world, if you see, whomever we have affection towards that person, we develop a very soft heart. Like we say, oh, this friend of mine, he has a very soft heart towards me, or he has a very soft corner for me, we say. So, when we have affection towards someone, our heart becomes very soft towards that person. We deal with him in a very soft way. His mistakes are pardoned. His transgressions are unobserved. So therefore the heart, but whereas towards some person towards whom we don't have affection, we become very hard-hearted towards that person. We deal with him in a very unjust way. We treat him in a very not so pleasant way. So the softening of the heart is a product of that intense affection which has developed towards Krishna. The heart becomes very soft. Ruchibihi chitta masranya krid asau bhava uchyate. So that aspect of bhakti in which these spiritual emotions manifest, and because of the manifestation of those loving spiritual emotions, the heart becomes very soft by meditating on the various loving exchanges that one could share with Krishna. That is called as Bhava Bhakti, and this Bhava Bhakti is compared to one ray of the sun of Prema, like that. Then, so we will try to understand each one of these statements, each one of these characteristics of Bhava Bhakti. First, let's discuss Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma. So, Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma means, he says, now this verse describes Bhava, also called Rati, which is the general form of Sthayi Bhava and the bud of the Sthayi Bhava which continues to exist in the higher stages such as Pranaya and Mahabhava. So, Sthayi Bhava means a specific relationship that we have with Krishna, as we saw in either Shantaras or Dasyaras or Sakyaras or Vatsalyaras or Madhuryaras. That is called as Sthayi Bhava, the basic fixed relationship that we share with Krishna. So, the stage of Bhava acts as the platform for that Sthayi Bhava to manifest, specific Sthayi Bhava to manifest. Okay. So, that specific nature manifests, it may manifest like when one is progressing from Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti towards Bhava Bhakti. Even before reaching Bhava, one specific mood is already fixed. Either it is in Sakyaras or Vatsalyaras or Madhuryaras. So, when Bhava manifests, that Bhava manifests as Sthayi Bhava only. But when one is progressing from Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti towards Bhava Bhakti, in the beginning stage of Bhava Bhakti, the generic symptoms of Bhava are there. We will see what are the generic symptoms of Bhava. But the specific mood is not manifest. This is called as Samanya Sthayi Bhava. Samanya Sthayi Bhava means a very generic affection towards Krishna. But the specific mood of either servitude or friendship or parental affection or conjugal affection is not manifest. So, this Bhava acts as the preliminary platform for that specific Sthayi Bhava to manifest. By using the phrase Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma, the author indicates that in the future this Bhava will transform into more elevated states culminating in Mahabhava. As we saw, there is Bhava, there is Prema, then beyond Prema also there are many stages. Raga, Mana, Anuraga and so on. So Pranaya, like that. Mahabhava, culminating in Mahabhava. So this Bhava only becomes more and more condensed and more specific when one moves through these various stages. So this Bhava is essentially the raw material. Just like the sun ray is the raw material which makes the whole sun, or a drop of ocean water is the raw material which makes the whole ocean. Similarly, Bhava acts as the raw material which condenses more and more when one progresses to Prema and the subsequent stages till the stage of Mahabhava, which is experienced by very select personalities like Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Madhavendra Puri. These are the only three personalities who experienced the stage of Mahabhava. Here Shuddha Sattva refers to the Samvit potency. We already saw what Samvit potency is. Samvit is a knowledge potency. We get to know Krishna and our relationship with Krishna. So Shuddha Sattva refers to the Samvit potency. And Samvit means knowledge whose intrinsic nature is self-revealing. It automatically reveals Krishna and our own relationship with Krishna. Shuddha Sattva here does not refer to the material mode of goodness. This we saw. Even though at the stage of Nishtha we transcend material modes of passion and ignorance, but material mode of goodness is still there till we reach Asakti. But after asakti, when we reach the stage of bhava, the material mode of goodness is also transcended. We reach the mode of Shuddha Sattva. So that heart becomes the place, that heart becomes the place where Krishna and Radharani can appear. As in the 4th canto, we see Lord Shiva is sitting, and when Daksha enters into that arena, he does not get up. Why? Is it because he does not respect Daksha as his father-in-law? No. It is mentioned, Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam Yadiyate Tatra Puman Apavritah Satvecha Tasmin Bhagavan Vasudevo Hyadokshajome Namasa Vidiyate. It is mentioned, Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam. So that purified heart is called as Vasudev. Because in the heart of Vasudev manifested Krishna. Then from his heart he manifested into the heart of Devaki, and from the heart of Devaki he manifested in the womb of Devaki, and then he manifested out of her body. So that heart which has been completely, thoroughly cleansed, that is called as Sattvam Vishuddham, Vishuddha Sattva, Vasudeva Shabditam, Yadiyate Tatra Puman Apavritah, in which the Supreme Lord can appear without any covering. Otherwise the Lord is covered. Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yogamaya Samavrita, Modoyam Nabijanati, Mamebhya Paramavyayam. It is mentioned. So, otherwise for ordinary people, Krishna is covered by the curtain of Maya. But in that heart which has been completely cleansed through the process of Anartha-nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi and Asakti, that heart becomes Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam Yadiyate Tatra Puman Apavritah, where the Supreme Lord can appear without any covering. So, Sattvecha Tasmin Bhagavan Vasudevo, Supreme Lord Vasudeva had appeared there and I was meditating on him. That's why I could not get up. I didn't notice you. But how can Daksha understand? That's what is indicated here. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma. Shuddha Sattva does not here refer to the material mode of goodness. Because in material mode of goodness, Krishna does not appear. That's why even a Jnana Yogi, when he has to realize the Brahman feature of the Supreme Lord, for Brahman realization also, towards the end, he is expected to give up that path of Jnana, but not give up the path of Bhakti, the element of Bhakti that is there in this path. Why? Because the path of Jnana is in the mode of Sattva, but Brahman is transcendental to the 3 modes. So therefore, one cannot achieve a transcendental objective through a practice which is still within 3 modes. So Jnana can bring him till there, but at some stage the practitioner has to give up the limbs of Jnana, and only Bhakti is beyond 3 modes. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. That's why Krishna says, my dear Arjuna, try to elevate yourself beyond the 3 modes. That is Bhakti. So therefore, how can a person whose heart is filled with the material mode of goodness, there Krishna can never appear, because Krishna is transcendental to the 3 modes. So for Krishna to appear, the heart must also be Vishuddha Sattva, beyond the material 3 modes, just like Krishna himself. So at the stage of Bhava, the heart becomes cleansed that way. Therefore Krishna can appear. So, and as we saw, the word Vishesha indicates Hladini Shakti. Hladini Shakti, after Samvit introduces us to Krishna, the Hladini Shakti lets us experience the bliss of that relationship with Krishna. How does one feel when one meets Krishna? How will I feel when I meet Krishna? How will I feel when I touch Krishna? How will I feel when I experience the words of Krishna? How will I feel when I serve Krishna? How will I feel when I massage Krishna's lotus feet? Those feelings of joy and bliss and spiritual emotions, that the person starts experiencing it due to the Hladini Shakti of the Supreme Lord. So these three potencies, Samvit, Sandhini and Hladini, one may say, what is the proof for this? So Vishnu Puran says, Hladini, Sandhini, Samvit, Tvayi eka sarva samshraye, Hlada tapakari mishra, Tvayi no guna varjite. So Vishnu Puran says, the Hladini, Sandhini and Samvit potencies of the Lord are one energy called as Swarup Shakti. Tvayi, and all these three energies reside within you. Sarva samshraye, and you are the shelter of all living entities. Hlada tapa kari mishra, the mixture of happiness and distress which is found in this material world, Natvayi, it does not exist in you because you are beyond the three modes. So, therefore, that's Hladini, Sandhini and Samvit potencies which are a part of his Swarupa Shakti. When the living entity comes in touch with those three energies or with the Swarup Shakti, the living entity also does not experience material happiness or material distress or a mixture of material happiness and distress. So therefore, one should understand that this Hladini Shakti is the very essence of the Swarup Shakti, because ultimately it is the joy and satisfaction that matters. So therefore, this Hladini Shakti is the very essence of the Swarup Shakti, and that one comes in touch with that essence of Swarup Shakti at the stage of Bhava, and it condenses more and more at the stage of Prema. Furthermore, the power of the combination of Hladini and Samvit causes the most intense state of desiring to please the Lord. So the intense desire to please the Lord manifests at the stage of Bhava due to the combination of, so because you know Krishna and you want to, you know Krishna and you want to please Krishna and you are experiencing a relationship with Krishna. So in this way, one starts experiencing bliss. And this intense desire to please Krishna, it is present within the Nityasiddha devotees of Krishna in the spiritual world. And that very same Swarup Shakti which is in the heart of Sridama, Subal, Radharani, Rupa Manjari, Labanga Manjari, Lalita, Vishaka, Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda, that very same energy, for the first time, when the Jiva reaches the stage of Bhava, he comes to that stage. He starts experiencing it. So auspicious. That very same living entity who was suffering because of being tossed around due to the Sattvagun, Rajogun and Tamogun, due to practice of sadhana bhakti, he has now reached that stage of bhava where he is going to experience the same emotions that the eternally perfect Nityasiddha devotees in the spiritual world, the Nityasuris, that they are experiencing in relationship with Krishna. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. This is not the end. It starts with bhava and it becomes more condensed in prema. It becomes more condensed in sneha, mana, anuraga, pranaya. Till Mahabhava, it becomes more and more condensed. Actually, we cannot even imagine. What we are discussing is highly hypothetical for us, because we are still within the realm of three modes. We are still tossed about by the three modes. But we can at least try to appreciate that this is unimaginably superior. So the point is, therefore it is worth endeavoring in the direction of sadhana bhakti, because what we are going to get at the end of its practice is something very valuable. So this is the meaning of Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma. The person becomes ready to receive the Samvit, Sandhini and Hladini potency of Krishna at the stage of Bhava. Now, let's try to understand the next phrase, Asau Bhava Uchyate. Asau, we saw that bhakti, that Uttama bhakti, which is Anyabilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Dhyanavritam Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam Bhakti Uttama. That Uttama bhakti is called as Bhava. When it has additionally these symptoms. The word Asau in the text indicates the generic form of bhakti, which is indicated as Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. Of course, Anyabilashita Shunyam and Jnana Karma Dhyanavritam also. Even though the general form of bhakti, as we saw, had two elements, Cheshta Rupa Anushilanam and Bhava Rupa Anushilanam, here what we are discussing is Bhava Rupa Anushilanam. This we have seen already. Because the distinguishing factor, that which distinguishes this practice of Bhava from Sadhana Bhakti is spiritual emotions, Bhava, which is called as Bhava. Therefore, it is called as Bhava Rupa Anushilanam. Otherwise, there is engagement of senses and mind in both senses, mind and words, in both Cheshta Rupa Anushilanam and Bhava Rupa Anushilanam. We also cook for Krishna. Mother Yashoda also cooks for Krishna. So, like that we may also perform many activities, but those activities are not filled with spiritual emotions. They are born out of spiritual desire, no doubt, but they are not filled with spiritual emotions. We chant the holy name because our Guru has told. They chant the holy name because they can't stop chanting. It is a natural byproduct of their spontaneous love for Krishna. So all these activities are there. They are called as Anubhavas. Whatever activity we perform at the stage of sadhana bhakti, the gopis and the Vrajavasis in Vrindavan, they also practice. But that is not called as sadhana. That is called as Anubhava. It is like the difference between a nurse taking care of a child and a mother taking care of the child. A nurse is taking care of the child because she is expected to do it, she has been asked to do it by the doctor, and she takes care of it, of the child in a particular way, being inspired by the books, nursing books. But a mother taking care of her child, no one has asked her to take care of the child. It is not a burden. It is a burden. It is a burden of love. But that burden is so pleasurable. It is so pleasurable. When a child in the hospital, when the child passes stool or urine, the nurse is not very happy to clean it, even though she cleans it. But the mother, the Shastras explain that for the mother or father, when the child passes stool, it is like Chandan or Aguru. Of course, it does not, it's not literal. The meaning is when the child has a properly functioning digestive system, the symptom of a properly functioning digestive system is regular bowel movement, evacuation. So when there is regular evacuation, this is a symptom that the child is healthy. So therefore, when the child passes stool and urine, the parents feel actually so happy. It does not literally mean that it smells like Aguru or Chandan, but it is a fact. So for the parents, just like it is so natural, similarly for the Vrajavasis, when they chant, when they hear about Krishna, it is not sadhana. Like we say that bhakti is yatsyat sarvatra sarvada. Even after we go to the spiritual world, we hear, we chant, But one may wonder at the sadhana stage, one may wonder, is that an advantage or a disadvantage? A Jnana yogi can give up his process when he achieves liberation. Ashtanga yogi can give up his process. He does not have to control his breath and perform tough asanas and meditate and all that. He can give up. But I still have to chant. I have to carry my bead back to the spiritual world also. This we don't understand. So there, it is not called as sadhana in the spiritual world. It is called as anubhavas. Anubhavas means these actions are a natural byproduct of spontaneous love for Krishna. So, therefore, this is bhavarupa anushilanam, not cheshtarupa anushilanam. So, in the southern wave of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Jiva Goswami is quoting a verse from there. He says, Sharira Indriya Vargasya Vikaranam Vidhayakaha Bhava Avirbhava Janitas Chitta Vrittaya Iritaha. He says, Bhavas are defined as a variety of conditions of the mind. Mind means emotion. Produced through relationship between a subject and object of love. The object of love is Krishna. The subject of love is the devotee. When they come together, or when there is even a thought of that object of love, it creates a chitta vritti, a condition of mind, a favorable emotion. And that emotion is so strong that it creates bodily changes, involuntary bodily actions in the form of sattvika vikaras, hair standing on end, tears flowing from the eyes, voice getting choked up, like that. And these are involuntary bodily changes. And there is some spontaneous changes, but which are not so involuntary, like dancing and singing and jumping in joy. These are called as anubhavas. These are also bodily changes, but these are not involuntary. There is some element of premeditation there. So, but these are products of spiritual emotions, even though these can be experienced as a product of material emotions also, in our relationship with our relatives, friends, like that. But in relationship with Krishna, these are not products of the three modes. These are products of the Swarup Shakti. So, bhava is defined at that stage when in relationship with Krishna, one starts experiencing these spiritual emotions which start transforming their body. That is bhava. Asau bhava uchyate. That general bhakti which was defined as favorable service to Lord, anukulyena krishnanushilanam, is called bhava when referring to one particular portion of it called bhava rupa bhakti or bhava rupa anushilanam. What is the essential nature of this bhava? The essential nature of this bhava is samvit sandhini and ladini potency, shuddha sattva visheshatma. That is the nature of this bhava. And this swarupa, this bhava is eternally present in this nature is eternally there in the Nitya Siddha devotees of the Lord in the spiritual world. So, in this material world, we perceive through we perceive things and experience emotions through our material subtle body. But when one reaches the stage of bhava, one no longer has any material subtle body. So how can he perceive things, hear, see, experience a sense of touch, smell, taste? It is not happening through material senses. The body has transformed. And the experience of emotion is also not triggered by the three modes. Neither is his subtle body made of matter, nor are his emotions triggered by the three modes. His subtle body is made of samvit sandhini and hladini potency, and His emotions are also triggered by Samvit Sandhini and Hladini potency. He perceives his relationship with Krishna, his duty, his service with relationship with Krishna through the Samvit potency, and he experiences the joy of that relationship, the despair of feeling separation from Krishna, the anxiety of an impending meeting with Krishna, the anxiety of serving Krishna. All of that is not triggered by the three modes, but it is triggered by the Samvit, Sandhini and Hladini potency of Krishna. That is the meaning of Asau Bhava Uchyate. Then we will try to understand the next phrase, which is Ruchibis Chitta Masranyakrid. Chitta, heart, Masranyakrid, it makes the heart very soft and fluid. How? Ruchibihi. Ruchibihi means by eagerness to meet Krishna, eagerness to spend time with Krishna, eagerness to serve Krishna, like that. So, Srila Jiva Goswami says, furthermore, this bhava softens the heart with desire for meeting the Lord, serving the Lord favorably, and attaining friendship of the Lord. So, that person whom we have identified, that I want to serve him, he is my friend, I want to deepen my friendship with him. So, that person, as we saw before, with whom we have a lot of affection, naturally we develop a very soft heart towards that person. We deal with him in a very soft way. This bhava is also the sprout which will become prema and which will be described later. This is the meaning of Ruchibis Chitta Masranyakrit. It makes the heart very soft. Then we will discuss the next phrase, Prema Suryamshu Samya Bhak. This bhava is like one ray of the sun of prema. What does it mean? By comparing prema to the sun, there is the suggestion that prema will very soon appear. So he could have compared bhava to a drop and prema to an ocean. It can. There is no problem with that comparison. But a more appropriate comparison is to compare bhava to a ray of sun and prema to sun. Why? Because when the sun ray appears, it is heralding the appearance of sun. In a few minutes, sun is going to appear. Before sun appears, we see the sun rays. What is called the dawn. The sun rays start coming slowly and then the sun appears. So when bhava appears, it indicates prema is sure to appear. That is why it is compared to one ray of the sun of prema. As well, it is like a ray of the sun. It is the first glow of the sun of prema. It also it means it is in quality, it is similar to prema. In quantity, prema is much more condensed. So, therefore, it will be mentioned later, bhava, in discussing the definition of prema bhakti, we will see bhava saeva sandratma, sa prema nigadyate. So, when bhava is taken and it is condensed more and more and more, it is called as prema. So, therefore, qualitatively it is one. That is why it is compared to one ray of the sun of prema. And this bhava, the bliss that one experiences through this bhava, it is not material. If it was material, then the bliss of liberation is spiritual. At the stage of bhava only, the bliss of liberation becomes insignificant. So how can that bhava, which is much more superior to liberation, which is spiritual, how can that bhava be material? So therefore, bhava is spiritual completely. So therefore, even though we are using material analogies to understand this, but we should understand that this is completely non-material, spiritual. Even though this bhava is seen in the eternal associates of the Lord, in the Vrajavasis and in other such perfected people, even though this person who has just reached the stage of bhava is still in the material world, but his heart also becomes similarly disposed towards those Vrajavasis in Vrindavan. He starts thinking like the Vrajavasis. He starts acting like the Vrajavasis spontaneously. By this mercy alone it shall appear. So it appears only by the mercy of the Lord and the devotees. One becomes qualified to reach this stage, eternal. So this is the definition of Bhava Bhakti. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prema Suryamshu Samyabhag Ruchibis Chitta Masranya Krid Asau Bhava Uchyate. So these three elements of definition. So one last theme we will discuss before we wind up for the day. We will discuss some proof. What is the Bhava Bhakti, Prema Bhakti? Is it there in the scripture? Or is it just a creation by Srila Rupa Goswami? What is this? Is there any proof for this? So he quotes a verse from the Tantra Shastras. Premnastu pratamavastha bhava iti abhidiyate. Satvika swalpamatrasyur atrashru pulakadayah. He says, Premnastu pratama avastha bhava iti abhidiyate. So the preliminary stage of prema is called as bhava. So both the terminologies bhava and prema are indicated here. And also pratama avastha indicates prema suryamshu samyabhak. If prema is compared to a sun and bhava is compared to a ray, just like the sun ray heralds the rising of the sun, similarly bhava heralds the rising of prema. Therefore premnastu pratama avastha bhava iti abhidiyate. Satvika swalpamatrasyur atrashru pulakadeha. And the satvika vikaras like tears flowing from the eyes, hair standing on end, voice choking up, all these things start manifesting at the stage of bhava, swalpamatra, in small quantity or in little bit. But at the stage of prema it is more intense and more sattvika bhavas manifest. Okay, so this verse gives the proof that bhava is compared to a ray of prema. Premnastu pratama avastha. Another verse he quotes from the Padma Purana to show that how the heart becomes soft by practice at the stage of bhava. He says, Dhyayam bhagavatah padamboja yugam tada Ishad vikriyamanatma sardra drishtir abud asau. He says, Dhyayam, by continuously thinking about whom? Bhagavata padambuja yugam, about the two lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Tada, at that time, asau, that person in this context, Ambarish Maharaj. Ishad vikriyamanatma abud. He started experiencing some transformations within his heart and which started manifesting within his body. Sardra drishti, tears started flowing from his eyes. So, therefore, this is an example that Srila Rupa Goswami gives to prove that how the heart becomes soft and it manifests within the body in the form of sattvika bhavas, like that. So these are the two proofs that Srila Rupa Goswami gives in for establishing how the definition of Bhava Bhakti. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prema Suryamshu Samyabhak Ruchibis Chitta Masranya Kridasau Bhava Uchyate. Okay, so we will pause here for the day. Thank you very much for your patient listening. So we will continue this theme tomorrow. I'll do a very quick recap of what we have seen today, and tomorrow we will see further topics. I will give you a just glimpse of what we will see tomorrow. No, I will not. Because if it's not so interesting, you may not come tomorrow. Actually, it is interesting. If we find it uninteresting, it is only because of our own conditioned state. But actually, believe it or not, whether we find it interesting or not, to hear it is actually purifying, because It was taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srila Rupa Goswami, and an exalted personality like Srila Rupa Goswami has compiled it. Further, it has come in the parampara through Srila Prabhupada. So, it has a powerful potency. So, therefore, we can't approach these topics in the mood of, oh, will I like it? Will it be interesting or not? Whether it is interesting or not, it will be purifying. It will be elevating. Even in our life, we don't always do things that we like. We many times choose not to do things that we like in order to do things which are beneficial for us. In the same way, we should accept these subject matters, even though they may be not so interesting, not so relatable, but here we are discussing what happens when we reach the perfection of our practice of bhakti. What is there in store for us? So it is beneficial to hear about these subject matters, even though we may not be able to relate to them immediately. So thank you very much for your patient listening. Hoping to have your association tomorrow also. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai. Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.